Hi guys, it's Kai
I'm Becca
from Level 5, and we're here to talk about squat do's and don'ts, okay? If you want to do leg days, which all of us do because we want the booty or we want to get bigger legs, or we just want to tone up in terms of fitness, then squats are going to be one of the things that you're going to be utilizing with your trainer or by yourself. So we want to talk about some of the do's and don'ts of squatting that we feel from a biomechanical standpoint and from a postural standpoint that are important, so that you don't get hurt and you're able to continually get those gains that you're looking for, okay? So, Becca's going to go ahead and rack the bar just as you know to do, so just pulling it right up to the front side of her body, so we're going to start with the front side. Now, one of the things that we see through a lot of CrossFit and a lot of just lifting in general is the position of the hands and the inability to bring the shoulder into the lift. So make sure that you're using your elbows and you're pulling nice and high, and you're not just pulling through your wrist as you go into a squat. Now, we're going to call this the vertically loaded position, so starting in the vertically loaded position or the standing position. Also, you want to make sure that your shoulders are relaxed and that you don't preload your pelvis. A lot of the times what people will do is they'll tip their pelvis, and that will preload it, and that will make it tough to finish the lift. And also, when you're at the bottom of the lift, to get posterior pelvic tilt so that the hip socket can actually flex the way it's supposed to, allowing the quad muscles and hip flexor muscles to help you. So making sure that you don't pre-flex or preload your hips, this is going to be our set. Okay, so to continue talking about our do's and don'ts of our squatting, we're going to talk about the bottom of the squat now. So you'll notice that we're going to kind of break up the squat into a few different positions. So now we're going to talk about the bottom, or what we're going to call the catch. So Becca's going to go ahead and load the bar, and she's going to drop into the squat, making sure that she doesn't preload her pelvis, as we talked about in terms of our don't number 1. So as she's down, one of the main things that you want to make sure is that your knee doesn't exceed your toes, nor does it exceed your heel. You'll notice that the further your knee comes back into your position, the more the pelvis drops into a posterior pelvic tilt, allowing you to both load the glute and the quad muscle. So also you'll see that by moving back versus down, she hasn't had to extend her spine. Her spine stays in extension without her working through it. Alright guys, so just kind of moving through our squat tutorial, or the do's and don'ts of squatting. We have our 2 don'ts, which are, the first thing is, do not pre-extend your pelvis, and also at the bottom of the squat, do not allow the knees to exceed the foot or pull back through the heel, so you don't fall on your face and fall on your head. That's going to basically tell us how much ankle mobility you have. You can also check the videos in terms of helping your squat out, or the 3 keys to a great squat, and it will help you in terms of pre-exercises that you can get into a squat, and that's somewhere over here. So, alright, so Becca's going to do some squats for us, and we're just going to talk about a few things that we see in terms of the do's as she goes through her squat. Now, as she racks the bar, you'll notice she does bring her elbows up nice and high, that way she doesn't have to use her wrist to go through the squatting position. Again, we are using a front mount squat here because it is safer for the body. She is going to pull her hips back versus down toward the floor, and her knees are not going to exceed her toe nor her ankle. And she's going to allow her pelvis to come underneath her as she pulls the bar back up. Now, you'll notice that as she drops into the squat, the pelvis tucks underneath. This allows the hip socket a clear position to turn in, which is what we want as we utilize some of the quad muscles. Now, as she comes down and pushes through, she's going to use a lot of glute to change the position of the pelvis and also to stabilize the pelvis. And these are some of the technical things that we're talking about as we're going through a squat. The other don't is she is not going to use her upper back as she pulls her hips back. Her spine is going to follow what her pelvis does. Okay? So again, we've got a few do's and a few don'ts. We've got the don'ts: do not allow your knee to exceed your toes or your heel. Do not use your wrist to load the bar. Make sure you're pulling up through your elbow. Do not preload your pelvis. The do's: allow your pelvis to move freely, allow your spine to stay relaxed, and allow your stomach muscles to stay relaxed as you go through the lift so that you can breathe.
Thanks for watching, guys. Click down here to subscribe to our video channels. Click up here to get the 2-week free digital program and leave any comments or questions you have below.
Perfect.